Hello and welcome to week 4 of the Dinosaw for 2023. 7 more curious, interesting things I saw in the news I thought you should know about. So as ever, let's crack on, and also as ever, give it a like if you like it. First of all, I saw this, and I hope I'm saying this right, Carl Bouguer, let's go with that. Self-soldering circuits, that's also tough to say. Now this is really, really interesting. So what's going on here is there are circuits with components on them, and layered within that circuit board is another kind of circuit which is a high resistance circuit that you can put power through, and it will heat up the circuit board. So as you see, the circuit board's being designed here, and these are the heating strips, so that's the wiggly stuff you're seeing there. So it's a bit like a radiator essentially. Put power through that, heats up the board and melts the solder, and therefore can solder the board itself in situ. Now why is this super interesting? Well, not only can it make itself, obviously that's kind of cool, that might be a manufacturing benefit, but also in the comments of the video when this was actually shown off, somebody was like, oh, I do satellites, and therefore this might be really useful for heating up the circuit boards in cold places like space. And somebody else said that it would be really interesting for self-destructing circuit boards. So if there's any security breach or something like that, then you switch a button or it automatically heats itself up and destroys the motherboard or whatever circuit it might need to be. So I thought that was really intriguing. Got my mind whirring slightly. So there you go, self-soldering circuits. This is DensePose. This is the latest iteration of quite a lot of research into this. This is using Wi-Fi routers, Wi-Fi transmitters, to then bounce off things in rooms, and if you can then take that data and you can infer from the differences in each one of those Wi-Fi signals what is going on in the room. Now you can use this for detecting bodies or movement. It only needs 3 essentially Wi-Fi routers, $30 worth of kit apparently this experiment took, but then you run that all through some deep learning neural networks and therefore say, okay, let's estimate the pose of what this data might be telling us, and if you superimpose it back onto the scene, it's pretty accurate. So you can use 3 relatively cheap Wi-Fi routers to then map what's going on in the room, and as you can see from the bottom, the room itself is then, you can extract the poses of the people from that just using the routers. So the point of this is really, or what they're actually saying that a benefit of this might be, is you can then use a privacy lens on looking at what's going on in the room. So you don't need to use a camera anymore, you can just literally use the body, and the privacy of the person, or their identity at least, is a little bit more protected. There you go, DensePose. This is probably version round 6 of Twitter trying to get this right, but it's looking like the Mirror are the only ones I think at the moment who are part of this demo. So Twitter has asked the Mirror, could they try this out? So you now get, if you are authorized by the Mirror, a little mirror icon next to your name. So for instance, the Mirror itself, which is on the right hand side, gets a gold tick. Anything that is associated with it, officially associated with it, that be reporters or potentially employees or pages of the Mirror, will also then get the Mirror icon appear on their Twitter profile. There you go. So that's possibly how that's happening. So that's part of the Twitter Blue for Business authentication system. We'll see how that goes. So it will roll out. There's all sorts of stuff going on at Twitter right now, so who knows what's going on. But that seems a relatively solid way to do it. There you go. Boeing and NASA have they've been doing partnerships for a while, but they've officially announced their Sustainable Flight Demonstrator program, which is looking at how do you make commercial flight more efficient. Now apparently with this design, and I will explain just what's going on in a few seconds, this is 30 or potentially 30% more fuel efficient. Now whether the engines themselves, we've also seen reports this week of hydrogen engines on planes rather than aviation fuel. So that's quite interesting as well, because those are pollution free, or they create water. So what's going on here? Very, very thin wings is what's going on here. So very long and thin wings. To support long and thin wings, you need a brace underneath, which is what you're then seeing. There's a 45-degree, or there's at least an angled brace, which is keeping that up. You can also create that brace as a wing, which creates extra lift. All that comes together with a potential of 30% more fuel efficiency. So prototypes that will be coming out, they'll be testing these. They've already sort of tried models, that sort of thing. Now this is also By the way, a biplane. You might also recognise these from the First World War, but these won't be seeing service until at least 2030, if not beyond, knowing how the aviation building works. There you go. Cyprus. In Cyprus, they've been doing some fluid dynamics research, and they've come out with some novel, helpful advice on how to survive a nuclear attack. So if you survive all the hot initial stuff and you're far enough away from the blast, the biggest thing in that sort of next zone is the hot winds that will knock over buildings. Now, if you're in a concrete building, it's less likely to happen than a brick building or anything else, but the winds will go through it. So in this study, they've used fluid dynamics, as you're seeing right now, to then say where's the best place to be. So if you need my advice, I would give you the short version of it, which is stay away from windows, stay away from doors, stay away from any opening, stay away from corridors, especially ones leading to windows and doors, and crouch in the corner. There you go, ideally away from windows. There are a few more subtle versions of the research as well, but that's all you need to hear. So hopefully we won't need that. But when I was growing up in the 80s, this would have been super handy. Hopefully we don't need it. Laser guided lightning is a thing. So this is research in Switzerland on top of a Swiss mountain, and they fired lasers up into the air, and they've finally got captured some footage from two different vantage points, which is what you can see broadly labelled A and B at the top of this thing, and then you can see the lightning swiggling around and then aligning to the laser beam. Now, why? Two things. Why is it doing that? It's doing that because the laser beam, as it goes up through the air, it lights up the air, it changes essentially the electrical conductivity of the air, and therefore it's more friendly to lightning to pass through. So therefore they've showed that they could potentially guide lightning down these kind of motorways for electricity. And you're seeing in those little pictures below in grey, you're seeing that actually happen. Now, lightning goes up really as well. I won't go into that, but basically you're seeing it there sort of starting, following it, and then branching off. So that's kind of cool. Why is this interesting is the other thing. So if you have lightning striking something important like a launch pad where you've got rockets for the fuel, or airports and grounding aeroplanes, or cutting out systems, or telecommunications, then you fire up a load of lasers, and it's more likely to attract the lightning than just relying on putting a lightning strip up something. And it will get hit by lightning, but it'll conduct it away. It wouldn't be better if it was not hit in the first place. So that's what's going on here. There you go. So when there's a storm, you might see lots of lasers in the sky. And finally, we haven't seen Atlas for a while. So this is Boston Dynamics' robot, humanoid, should we say. So you've seen the dog a lot doing some kind of funky stuff, and now it's time for Atlas to make another appearance. The whole point of this new research they're doing is to make Atlas more useful in the workplace. So mimicking normal things that normal people can do, but also just showing that everything they're doing in a difficult way to show that it can be done. So for instance, Workman at the top has forgotten his tools. Oh no, so calls on Atlas to go and give him his tools. So Atlas is now going to do something which is what most workmen will do. They'll obviously jump up like that. They'll do a spinning jump and throw at the same time. They'll then clearly kick over a box that has been put on there by somebody, and as most workmen will do, they'll jump down and then do an inverted 540 dismount. Of course, there you go. Now somebody's clearly got to put that box back up there, and somebody's not going to be very happy about that. But I thought that was really, really interesting. It's always good when these things comes out. Now Boston Dynamics have made a big stand on saying they're not going to do anything bad. These are never going to have weapons on them, but clearly we know where mimics of these humanoids are going to go. But there you go. So making it more useful in the workplace. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully it was interesting. If it was, give it a like, and most importantly, if you can share it, that would be amazing. Other than that, see you next week.